Don't be afraid to build your first dollhouse. I'll show you smart shortcuts, quality materials, and all the mistakes that I made so your dream dollhouse lasts a lifetime. Hello, my crafty dolls. Welcome to my craft room. I am Grandma Kitty, and I am so glad you're here. So now, if you are thinking about building your first dollhouse and you're really not sure where to start or you're a little bit scared, I am going to give you a quick list of my do's and don'ts when building your first dollhouse. And I want to show you all of my mistakes, and I definitely have a few regrets. So I'm going to show you all of these so you can avoid my pitfalls. And of course, while building my first dollhouse, I did pick up a lot of shortcuts and tricks to make it easier for you. And there are so many things you need to know and you probably haven't even thought about. And finally, I'm going to give you all of my recommendations for quality materials to use in your dollhouse so it will last generations and many, many hours of playtime. So this channel is all about dollhouse miniatures. So if you love to play with dolls as much as I do, please hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you back. So let's jump over to my dollhouse. So I just want to state first that nothing in this episode is being sponsored. I'm not being paid to say anything. These are strictly my opinions and my recommendations through my own experience. So with that said, the number one dollhouse kit I would recommend you buy is from Real Good Toys. And these are the dollhouses you see at Hobby Lobby. And they've been around for 50 years. So they really know what they're doing, and they only do dollhouses. So, and they're out of Vermont. So, you know, what else do you do in Vermont but build dollhouses, I guess. But it's a really, really nice, sweet company. And what I love about these houses is that they're heirloom quality and they're solid as a rock. So, and what makes them so special is the thickness of the flooring and the walls. They're about 3/8 of an inch thick, so a little less than a half an inch. And nothing is going to warp pushing on this. The ceiling, the roof, and it's not going to warp. It's not going to bend. You're not going to bump into it and the thing completely fall apart. And also, one of the really cool features that these kits have is the sort of built-in siding, or clapboard. So you don't have to worry about buying or assembling separate siding for your dollhouse. So that's just an extra step. So this is a really cool feature of these dollhouse kits. And of course, the number one reason they're so nice is that they're heirloom quality. They're never going to sort of fall apart. They're going to last a lifetime, which is so important because you're going to spend so much time and so much money on this house that you want it to last generations. You want to, leave this to your grandkids or to their grandkids. And it's very possible with these dollhouse kits. And I just want to say, try to avoid the cheap dollhouse kits. And then those are the ones that are die cut. And those are the ones where they have the really thin wood and they're laser cut. And usually the floors and the ceilings are sort of snapped together. And yes, they're very easy to assemble and very fast to assemble, but they're very fast to crumble, as I would say. So try to avoid those at all costs. If you're gonna do a dollhouse, spend the time, spend the money. And something you probably haven't even thought about is that these kits have really good instructions. And it sounds stupid, but when you are building something this big and complicated and you're going to be spending months on this project, you really want clear directions, and they have the best. And what's really nice is if you are in a bind and can't figure something out, you simply email them, and they have Dollhouse Superman experts waiting in the wings for you, and they answer your questions right away. I guess they have people working at this company for over 25 years. So you are going to get the best advice. Now you can go to realgoodtoys.com and order your Dollhouse Kit directly from their website. They have all of their houses in stock. I do know this one on the cover right now, it's out of stock. So a lot of people building their dream house with that one. This is a really nice company. They have a lot of houses to choose from. And what's nice is that you can modify them. You can add on to them. For instance, this one, you can buy the house and then you can buy, extra rooms to go alongside of it. And if you want to add more doors, more windows, they have a whole bunch of, building materials that you can buy that will match your dollhouse. So you don't have to worry about, is this window going to fit? I can buy the same door to match my other doors. So that is really, really nice. So when you want to modify something or something breaks, you can always find the replacement on their website. So that is something that I really, really like. So probably the biggest decision to make is what size dollhouse do you get? Do you get the small one because you've never done it before and you're scared and you think I'm just going to practice and then when I get really good at it, I'm going to do the big one. My advice, just get the big one. Again, they have really good instructions so you can handle the big one. And you're going to spend a lot of time on this. And when you're done, you're going to regret not getting the big one. And, you've got what, 7 rooms versus 4? I mean, come on, that's what it's all about. It's about decorating these rooms and playing and buying the furniture. What are you going to do with 4 rooms? That's boring. Get the big one. You can do it. So the first thing you do when you open up your Dollhouse Kit is grab your instructions, those really good instructions, and give it a hug because you are going to be best friends with this instruction booklet for a while. I recommend you read this 4 times. Ditch the novel, go to bed reading this because what you want to do is visualize building it in your head. And you want to sort of figure out your rooms, which rooms are going to be what, how you're going to decorate them. So you want to maybe pick out your themes. And you really want to get a sense of how it's built. Because if you want to modify your house, this is when you do it in your planning stage. It is really easy to modify your dollhouse plans if you think ahead and plan ahead and read those instructions and really determine where your rooms are. So in this case, I wanted this to be my kitchen and I wanted a back door. So this room did not have a door on the left side here. So before I built it, I made sure I measured and I cut a hole for the back door. So now I have a really nice back door for my cute little backyard and my little garden here. Now I could have added another window here on the side wall of this bedroom if I wanted to, which would actually have been really, really cute. And on the outside, window would have been out here, just to add some more character. So maybe you didn't even think about that you could add another window to your rooms to add a little bit more character to your dollhouse. So something to think about. One of the biggest regrets I have building this house is that I didn't think about this room before I built it. I should have modified it. And what really bothers me about this room is that it's so small, and because it's so deep, that there's no natural light in this room. It's always so dark. And I do have a light in there, but it really doesn't do its job. I do have a camera light shining on it right now. It does illuminate it, but it really is darker than what appears on camera. And I wish I would have thought about it. And having a room without a window, I thought I should have added a window. And that is the reason why I don't have my roof done, because I'm trying to figure out a way to add a window. So I thought, well, I can add a dormer window here. And those are those cute little windows that come out from the roof. So I don't know if I should put, one in the middle or should I have two? Not sure. And then I thought, well, maybe I can add a window here, like a little round window. I can kind of coordinate with this window. Now, this would have been super easy to do. And just imagine doing it before I put this all together. This would have been super easy to put a hole in there. Go to goodtoys.com, bought a window. It would have matched. It would have been done. I wouldn't have to worry about it. My roof would be done. So that is one of the biggest regrets. So I'm a little scared to just sort of, cut holes in the roof. But, I'm still thinking about it. We'll see what I do. But that is really the biggest regret. So if you have a dollhouse and there is a room with no windows, think about it. Is it really deep? Do I need a window? Should I add a window? And of course, you've got to do it before you start. So that is my number one tip, is to read those instructions. Okay, so now as I was studying my instructions and trying to figure out how I'm going to build this, it dawned on me how difficult it would be when this was finished, how I'm going to wallpaper it and put the floor in after it was done. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be really hard. And I'm going to get really, really frustrated because I really want my wallpaper to line up perfectly and I want it to be easy. So I thought, I am going to break the rules because it says not to do this and put the wallpaper in and the floor in as I'm building it. And it totally worked out just fine for me. I would recommend you doing it too. It just takes extra planning, extra measuring, but you can do it. So here's an example. Here is that tiny room up on the roof. How am I supposed to wallpaper that if it's already built? Like, that would be very, very difficult. Even the floor, trying to get into that tight space. I mean, that would drive me nuts. Again, in this small space, if I want to wallpaper it, I mean, look how tiny this is. And it's actually a very deep room, but having to try to wallpaper this when it's already done, even paint, trying to paint would be very, very difficult. Even the wallpaper in here, I thought this is going to be really, really hard, especially around those bay windows. So I really thought, okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this. I really want to apologize for my pictures here. I wish I had better photos to show you of just how I did the wallpaper and floor as I built the dollhouse. I just never thought I'd eventually have a YouTube channel. But the whole idea of this process is to wallpaper the walls before you glue them in and to glue the floor down before you put the walls in. And I want to emphasize that I'm using paper floors. And I'm going to go over floors a little later, but using paper floors or even painting your floors ahead of time only works for this process. And the whole idea of this process is to have easier access to the walls and floors without the ceiling or other walls in your way. So you can work from above rather than in a tight space, going in blind. And the advantage is you're going to have straight and precise cuts, and the paper is going to be nice and smooth without bubbles. Now, all this takes is just a little extra planning. So for this bay window, this pic does show the ceiling, but I removed the ceiling before I glued it in. So I could wallpaper the intricate bay windows from above. So it was so much easier. I wallpapered all the walls before I glued them in. And sometimes a wall would be divided for 2 rooms. I simply measured and cut the paper for each room before the room divider was glued in, and that made it a whole lot easier. Now for the floor, I made sure I left gaps along the floor so I could glue the wall directly to the wood. And I also did the same thing for the front porch. I made sure to leave gaps where the wall would be glued to the actual floor, so there was no overlap. And I also did the same thing with the paper stone foundation. I did this way before, and I did this before the exterior walls were put in, so they wouldn't be in the way. And as you can see, the house is coming together with the wallpaper and the floor already done, and it made it so much easier. It just takes a little extra planning. Okay, so let's talk wallpaper. Now, again, you want to use quality materials when you're doing your dollhouse. You want it to last a lifetime. So when you're dealing with wallpaper, first you want to make sure you have the right glue. Now, I also have a YouTube video that I did a while ago all about glue. So if you want to go back and watch that and figure out, which glue do you use for which project. So wallpaper, you use Grandmother Stover's glue. And this they have at Hobby Lobby. You can find it on Amazon. It is a little pricey, but it's specially made for paper. So your paper is not going to wrinkle. It's not going to fade. It's not going to change color. This stuff is really, really good. So I recommend this for doing your wallpaper. And also, make sure your papers are acid-free. Again, the quality, you want it to last a lifetime. If it's not acid-free, it is going to yellow. It's going to break down and get brittle. And after a few years, you might have to replace it. It'll probably start peeling off, so you don't want to do that. So I used 3 different wallpapers for my dollhouse. The first one I used was scrapbook paper. So really, really easy. And you just want to make sure they're acid free. So if you look on the back of the label, it'll tell you. And most of the scrapbook papers are acid free. You can it's kind of a given, but just always double check. Now, the second one I used, I downloaded Printables off Etsy. And if you've never done that before, they're really, really easy. You go to Etsy and you can search Dollhouse Printables wallpapers, just like the floors. And you simply print them out. And of course, you want to make sure you use acid-free paper. So I always recommend the Hammermill paper. Always, always, always. It's acid-free and you don't have to worry about it. Now, of course, they have dollhouse wallpaper just for your dollhouse. And I use the Mayberry Street dollhouse paper. These are the ones from Hobby Lobby. They sell exclusively at Hobby Lobby. So while doing this channel, or this episode, I should say, I realized this is not acid-free. So I have a little bit of a knot in my stomach right now because I decorated 5 of my 7 rooms with this wallpaper and it's not acid-free. So I am kind of like, well, is it going to hold up? I don't know. Is it going to turn yellow? Is it going to fade? Is it going to start cracking and peeling off? Am I going to have to, redo it in a few years? I don't know. So stay away from this. I am really, really disappointed in myself that I didn't double check it was acid free. I just took it for granted. So don't make the same mistake I do. So get rid of the stuff, just throw it away. And I have a ton of it too. So mad at myself. So I did look at some options. So Itsy Bitsy Mini is a really, really cool site. If you've never been there before, you really need to check it out. They've got the coolest miniatures there. And they have dollhouse wallpaper there. And it's acid free. And bonus, it is peel and stick. So you don't even have to worry about the glue. I have not used this particular wallpaper, but they have really, really great reviews. So let's talk about the flooring. Now, I use the paper method on my house, and that I chose because I could kind of do it as I built my house. So I thought that was really, really easy. You can also do the same thing by faux painting your floor, and there's a really cool YouTube tutorial on how to do that. So you would actually paint your floor to look like a real floor. But to take the really easy way out is to use paper. And of course, just like the wallpaper, you want to use quality acid-free paper. So you can go to Etsy, you can go ahead and download Dollhouse printable flooring, pick out what you want, print it out, and go ahead and glue it as you go onto your dollhouse. It's really, really nice. And I also did the same thing. I found this really cool stonework and I used that around the foundation of my house. You can also find, if you're lucky, you can find some scrapbook paper that looks like floor. Again, make sure it's acid free. And of course, you want to use the right glue. Make sure you use your glue that is specially made for paper, just like your wallpaper, and you'll be just fine. So the third option would be to use real wood. So a lot of people use popsicle sticks, and this technique would have to be done after your house is completely finished. So you're going to have to squeeze into those tight areas, cut your pieces of wood to make it look like wood planks. You can stain it, paint it, whatever you want, and then you use the tacky glue to secure it. And these are the floors that I printed off Etsy. And the advantage is it looks like wood floor, and you can put it in as you're building your house. So it's much easier. Now, there is a huge disadvantage because you can see the seams. And I suppose I could have cut these out so they could come together a little bit better. But the seams you can see a little bit. Here, this seam is actually really coming up. And it's fixable. I can completely fix it, but I will have to re-glue that. But until my little grandma kitty can hire a handyman, we're just going to put the rug right on top of it. So like I said, this technique is probably the easiest. And again, you can do it as you're building it. So it's a lot less stress trying to get into these deep corners to try to do a floor. In hindsight, I would honestly not do these floors again. I would do real floors. So I would do the floor completely after the house was built, and I would do the real floors like with popsicle sticks. Okay, let's talk about paint. Now, again, when you are choosing your paint, you want to use quality paint. You don't want to skimp because this, again, is taking a lot of time and a lot of money. We don't want to cheap out on the paint. So you want to use house latex paint. You don't want to use the craft paint. Just get rid of this. No, you don't want to use this. So what I did is I used leftover paint from my house. So this yellow is from my living room, and then the blue is from my kitchen, and this buttercream is the trim in my house. So I have a satin and I have a semi-gloss. Now, if you don't have leftover paint or it's not the right color you want, go over to acehardware.com. You can buy paint samples, and they're about 8 ounces, and you can choose any color you want and in any finish you want. So I recommend, like, the outside of your house would be a satin, or your walls would be a satin if you don't want to use wallpaper, and then your trim would be semi-gloss. So that's what I did. Now these run about $6.99 for a little jar. They're 8 ounces. I know they're on sale right now for $3.50. I don't know how long that sale is going to run, but again, it is a little bit more expensive. You're probably going to get more than you need as a paint, but you can be assured that you're going to get quality paint, and it's going to go on smoother, and you're going to do less steps. And of course, if you can get paint that has the primer already in it, that would be an extra bonus. And also, do not skimp on your brushes. Don't buy cheap brushes. Sometimes I do that. I'll buy a cheap brush thinking, oh, I don't have to wash it, I'll just throw it away. But the problem with cheap brushes is that the bristles will come out and you're constantly picking them out of your paint, and it's a hassle. You can use sponge brushes on your house. They tend to break down a little bit, so I just use a really quality brush and you'll be fine. Now, if you're doing larger areas like the face of the house or the ceilings or the walls, go ahead and use a small foam roller. That's what I like to use. Now, when it comes to sanding, the instructions say to sand. You sand before, you sand after you paint the first coat, and then you sand after your second coat. Now, to me, that's a lot of sanding and a lot of time and a lot of work. Now, I keep piping on about quality and wanting this to last. Honestly, yes, this is rough, a little bit rough, but I did not sand my walls, and I skipped that part, and honestly, I think it's okay. It is rough, but I used a good brush, so it didn't really break down my brush or anything. A sponge brush might do that. But yeah, I think Real Good Toys would really be mad at me for not suggesting to sand. But if I had to do this over again, I would skip the sanding again. I didn't really think you needed to do it. Now, I would sand the doors. The doors definitely need to be sanded. I did not sand my doors, and they're very, very rough. And when you kind of zoom in on them, especially when I do my little videos, I can see how sandpapery they look, and it really bothers me. So no sanding the outside, yes to sanding the doors. That's what I would do. So let's talk about gluing your dollhouse accessories to your dollhouse. Do you want to glue them, or do you want to keep them, free so you can remove them, in the future? So my number one magic tool for dollhouses is Scotch brand removable museum putty. I use this for everything. This is great. They have different brands, but the Scotch brand I always use. I never have a problem with it. It never dries out. You can keep reusing it over and over again. Some of these things have been up on my walls for over 4 years and they're still hanging. So I love this stuff. So when we're talking about securing things in your house, I didn't even glue my staircase. Now this might be a little bit like, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you glue that? But I'm kind of thinking ahead of time, because what if I want to redo my floor, or I want to take this out because I want more room in here? I can actually cover up this hole a little bit, maybe with a rug, and pretend it's not there and make my room bigger. Who knows? Also, it's nice to take your staircase out if you want to decorate it. So I use the putty to actually put up the railing. So I can take this off and I can decorate it. So like for Christmas, I can put some garland on here. It's so much easier to take this off, decorate it, and then put it back up with the putty. And nobody is ever going to know. So it might be a little bit overkill, but think about it. If you wanted to maybe change the wallpaper, it got damaged, or the floor, then you would have to take the staircase out. And if it's glued in, it would be so much harder to take that out. You could ruin something. And if it's not glued in, you can simply take it out and fix what you need to fix. And of course, when you want to hang something on your walls, especially your wallpapered walls, you never want to glue them on. No tacky glue, no hot glue. You want to use the putty, and this putty will last a long time. Like I said, this stuff has been up for 4 years, so let's try it. Let's take this off, my little putty here. And you don't have to put any new putty on. I'm just going to maybe move it up here, see how it looks. No, I don't like it like that. Let's put it back. Go ahead and put it back, and it'll hold. So this is going to save your wallpaper. You can be creative, you can keep changing your room and decorating, and you don't have to worry about ruining what you worked so hard for. And of course, the putty is great for securing your miniatures to your furniture, and it's not going to ruin anything. For instance, these are paper. They're made from paper, like these little flower boxes. A little piece of putty on the bottom there. And it is going to stay put, and I can move that around my kitchen as much as I want with that same, dot of putty. Really, really cool stuff. This shelf in the kitchen here, I actually glued in, and I really regret it. I thought, the putty is just not going to be strong enough to hold it, and actually it would have. So I really regret, gluing this in. If I wanted to change it, there's no way this is coming off. It's going to ruin my wallpaper. So it's going to stay there forever. So now outside, here is my little backyard, and I have this really nice rolled moss that I use for my grass. Now, it's tempting to glue this down. Now, I secured my moss grass here, my mossy grass, with some putty on my board here. So I have a really nice lawn. It's not permanent. I can't imagine gluing this on and having to take this off in the future, because I know this is not going to last a long time. It's going to get damaged. It's going to get dusty. I might have to replace this in 5-10 years. So if it was glued down, I can't imagine having to try to scrape this up. So the putty works really, really well. It's so much easier to change things out. So when possible, don't ever glue anything to your dollhouse. Always use the putty if you can. Now, the best accessory for your dollhouse is the turntable. This is an absolute must-have. If I suggest any accessory, it is this one. It just makes it so much easier to play with your dollhouse. So I'm just sitting here, play with the garden on the side, and I can switch over to playing in the front or display it from the front, and then of course the back. Now these turntables you can get at Real Good Toys. That's where I got mine. And let me see here. They come in two versions. So you have one with sort of the built-in platform already, and then you get one with just the turntable. So that's the one I bought. And the reason I bought this one is because I wanted that platform to be really big, because I wanted a backyard for my dollhouse. I wanted some extra green space around my dollhouse. And here is my backyard. And what's nice about adding a bigger platform is that you're adding an extra room to decorate your dollhouse. So think of your backyard and your garden as an extra room for your dollhouse. And I have a little front yard, a little bit. I have a little green space on the side and on the back. Okay, and last, I just want to share with you my favorite websites where I buy a lot of my miniatures. A lot of these places sell the cutest little things. And just forewarn, you're going to spend a few hours on each site looking around and hopefully not spend too much money. So my first website that I absolutely love is factorydirectcraft.com. They have a lot of miniatures on there, and they also have, just regular craft supplies there. So not just miniatures, but all kinds of crafts. Miniaturecrush.com is another one of my favorites. I've ordered so many things from there. Very unique items. I've mentioned itsybitsymini.com before. That's where they sell the wallpaper. And they have really neat miniatures on there. Really, really unique. Again, you're going to spend hours on there. Don't spend too much money. And Real Good Toys. They have their own website. Again, this is where you're going to find a lot of your building supplies, your doorknobs, your extra windows and doors and things like that. Really cool things on there. They also sell miniatures and furniture, so you can look around there. Again, their website is kind of outdated, but don't be discouraged. They're a really good company. I've ordered through them many, many times. So don't be discouraged by their really kind of outdated website. They're really, really nice over there. And of course, Etsy.com sells many miniatures. A lot of creators like me are on there making things out of polymer clay. They make things with laser printers and 3D printing. Just amazing stuff. So again, spend hours on Etsy doing that. And of course, as you know, I create my own printable miniatures for your dollhouse right on Etsy. So you go to my little page and you look around. It's so easy. I have so many really unique printable dollhouse miniatures that you can choose from. You pick out your favorite and you simply print it out and you construct it at home and put it together, and it's all made out of paper. And of course you come back here and I also have many tutorials on some of my printables. And the one that I featured in my little video there was my little Dollhouse Kit. So this is my #1 seller. I've sold so many of these, I think 300 of them so far. And it's so cute, little Dollhouse Kit. Comes with all the little things that you need to build your dollhouse. So you can't build a real dollhouse with this kit. It's just for show. So if you have a craft room, you can have your little doll, set up to make a little dollhouse. Very, very cute. So I don't know about you. I really don't like the sort of the traditional little figures they have for dollhouses, the little people. They kind of creep me out. So I use Calico Critters. So I recommend these. I know they're not to scale, but they're so cute. And I just got these. My granddaughter picked them out for me. And new set of a kitty family. These are like a little tabby cat family. They're so cute. And this is my little grandma kitty. These are the ones I use for my little videos. So that comes to my absolute number one tip, is to play with your dollhouse. Don't just set it up and let it sit in the corner and get all dusty. Play with it, rearrange your furniture, take things out, decorate it for the holidays. Let your kids play with it. Let your grandkids play with it. I let my 4-year-old granddaughter play with it. She's not quite 4, but I do take out the things that she could break, but I let her play with it. And it's such a special little time for us. When she comes over, she just wants to play with my dollhouse. So I encourage you to let people play with your dollhouse. Don't be afraid. So I hope I encouraged you to take the plunge and to buy that dollhouse that you've always wanted. Don't be scared of the big one. Just do it. I'm here to help you. Just make a comment, send me a direct message, and I will help you as much as I can. So happy crafting, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye.